An interesting and unique situation is unfolding in Nashville, where you have members of the city council publicly rebuking one of their most popular locals, none other than Morgan Wallen, who's not just become one of the biggest stars in country, he's become one of the biggest stars in all of music. His brand new song with Post Malone called I Had Some Help just debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And certainly Morgan Wallen has been a boom for Nashville. He is somewhat of a regular fixture down on Broadway. We've heard some negative stories about that, where he was recently arrested for throwing a chair off of Eric Church's bar. And of course, the video and racial slur incident from several years ago as well. And so the members of council recently voted down an application for a large sign for Morgan Wallen's This Bar, which is scheduled to open this weekend. Now, it's a situation you don't see take place very often, where you have the council publicly admonishing someone who is surely responsible for bringing in significant tourism dollars to their community. He's opening a huge business there that will generate a lot of tax revenue, and he is also probably someone who could, in his sleep, run for political office there and win if he wanted to. So why is the council not just voting down his application? They're really citing the reason for their voting down because they have apparently issues with Morgan specifically, not necessarily the way you typically see government business being done, but that is what is taking place here. Whether or not the sign eventually gets approved, if you've been down to Broadway, you know that these signs are a part of the experience. You see these neon signs, it's iconic. So many country artists have moved in and are opening bars. You've got Lainey Wilson also opening a new bar there, but it's the comments specifically made by the council members against Morgan Wallen that make it sound like these are not procedural denials for the sign. They are about him. And that's not something you see very often. So what the community response is going to be for that, I don't know. But we do know this. We know that Morgan Wallen is very, very popular and influential in Nashville. And so we're going to see how this all plays out and unfolds. But let's take a look here at first the events that have taken place recently, particularly that arrest with Morgan Wallen for throwing that chair off of the rooftop of Eric Church's bar. Obviously a poor decision there by Morgan Wallen, one he publicly apologized for and hopefully will move forward from. But at the same time, is that necessarily a justification for denying this sign being put up? And so let's take a look at what happened a few weeks ago when Morgan Wallen was arrested at Eric Church's bar. And so this is from the LA Times. Morgan Wallen says he's not proud of throwing that chair off of Eric Church's bar on the 6th floor and really could have hurt somebody. But this is what happened with that arrest and his subsequent response. It says Morgan Wallen has broken his silence about his April 8th arrest on suspicion of throwing a chair off of that 6th story of Eric Church's Nashville bar. Not a wise decision. So this is what his response said. It said, I didn't feel right publicly checking in until I made amends with some folks. I've touched base with Nashville law enforcement, my family, and the good people at Chiefs. I'm not proud of my behavior, and I accept responsibility. I have the utmost respect for the officers working every day to keep us all safe. Regarding my tour, there will be no change. It says Wallen has been charged with 3 felony counts of reckless endangerment and 1 misdemeanor count of disorderly conduct. The AP reported witnesses told officers they watched Wallen pick up a chair, throw it off the roof, and laugh about it. According to an arrest affidavit obtained by AP, the chair Wallen threw landed about 3 feet away from some officers standing down below who talked to witnesses and reviewed security footage of the incident. And of course, a chair coming down 6 stories can be life-threatening and is very dangerous. With the velocity it's picking up with such a fall, it is dangerous and certainly was a poor decision by Morgan, one that he has apologized for and hopefully has learned from. Now it also says the singer-songwriter was arrested in 2020 on public intoxication and disorderly conduct charges after being kicked out of Kid Rock's bar in downtown Nashville. So this is someone who's had a lot of success publicly, but also has made some mistakes in his career. Whether or not that should factor into government approval of things to operate a business that also benefits the community from a tourism standpoint is a whole nother situation. But this is this bizarre situation with the Nashville City Council where they denied it and then they're criticizing him personally in what is really a business request. And I'm sure there are other people involved, but they're criticizing him heavily and they universally voted down the request to have this sign displayed out there on Broadway, which has been a mainstay of country music fans for as long as it's been in existence. Let's take a look. So this is from the Tennessean. It says Nashville Council rejects a sign for Morgan Wallen's new bar, citing his harmful actions. So they are taking issue with some personal decisions he's made. And, is this going to be the standard? I guess is really the question here. Is this going to be the standard going forward for Nashville City Council? Because it is quite an all-encompassing standard. Morgan Wallen is a big celebrity, and he's had a lot of high-profile situations, and he's certainly made a lot of mistakes. But is this going to also be applied to other business owners there who may also have poor personal conduct, or is he only being denied because he's famous and he's a celebrity who's made bad decisions? But surely he's not the only person who has made such decisions. It's an interesting kind of can of worms that gets opened up by the way this is being done. But let's dive more into the details. So it says Morgan Wallen's bar is set to open this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, but a sign bearing his name won't be joining the fabled throng of neon lights over Nashville's honky-tonk highway. Of course, this is iconic. This is a staple of Nashville. It's what it's known for. And his bar will be one of the busiest and most popular bars, probably the busiest and most popular down there in Nashville. He's investing in the community, and he's surely responsible for bringing in significant tourism dollars. So let's see. It says Nashville's council soundly rejected plans for a 20-foot sign advertising Morgan Wallen's This Bar Tuesday, citing the country music star's past use of a racial slur and pending felony and misdemeanor charges over a chair thrown off the bar. And this is what council member Delisha Porterfield said on Tuesday. She said, I don't want to see a billboard up with the name. It's not a billboard, it's a sign for the business. But she said, I don't want to see a billboard up with the name of the person who's throwing chairs off of balconies who is saying racial slurs. And so you have, these are the schematics of the sign. Pretty standard sign. It doesn't look egregiously large even. There are some bigger signs down there. I mean, Aldine's Bar, which is a nice place I've been to, has a huge sign out front, and nothing wrong with that. It's a fun place to go. But this sign doesn't seem outrageous. Look at the size of the establishment. Look at the amount of money. They are surely millions of dollars likely have been invested into this business that is going to benefit the Nashville community by tax revenue. And as of now, they're saying that they're not going to allow him to place a sign on it. Really wild. I'm trying to see if could there be any other reason? Is there any other reason, or is this really the reason? I don't know. Let's take a look. The council voted 30-3 to deny the aerial encroachment to allow the construction and installation of the sign. 4 council members abstained. Council's approval is needed anytime a sign is constructed over a public right-of-way, in this case, the sidewalk, in one of their most iconic districts. It says Wallen's Bar, called This Bar and Tennessee Kitchen after his 2019 song of the same name, is located 107 4th Avenue. Adjacent to the Ryman Auditorium, the 6-story building will feature 6 bars, a rooftop, and 3 live music stages. So I am expecting that to be significant tax revenue coming in for the people of Nashville, the community of Nashville. And so it says representatives for Morgan and TC Restaurant Group, the company that will manage it, declined to comment on the council decision. Now, council member Jacob Kupin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who represents downtown Nashville, sponsored the legislation and one of 3 council members who voted in favor of greenlighting the sign's installation. So, he represents downtown Nashville, and he, I think, obviously sees the benefit of having the sign up, and it doesn't even seem like a crazy or unreasonable sign. For those of you who have been down there, there's certainly a lot bigger signs. Now, he says this is a fair comment. He goes, it struck me that we're putting up a sign with someone's name on it who's not been a good actor downtown. But he added, Wallen has since made efforts to apologize and make amends. And I do think that's exactly correct. He did make a mistake. He shouldn't have thrown the chair off of the bar. Does that mean that his efforts to apologize and make amends should not be factored into that decision? I mean, he's not a remorseless person. And so, ill-advised move. But does that mean that he shouldn't be able to really conduct business in the same way and promote his business effectively in the same way that other local business owners are able to. But he says he voted in favor because the TC Restaurant Group has been a really good partner in everything going on downtown, and he felt they shouldn't be penalized for what happened. And so just as I'm saying, there's other individuals involved, and they're running good business and they're bringing tax revenue. And it sounds like a reasonable position. I've never heard of this council member before in my life, but it just sounds like a pretty fair-minded. His job is to represent the community and represent the interests of the community. And so I don't know. I don't know how the community feels about this, but I assume Morgan Wallen is very popular in the community. And I'm sure the community knows that he's an imperfect person. This seems like a no-brainer. He goes, it's important to remind those at home, the public, whether you're a celebrity or someone coming to our town that lives here, that downtown needs to be a safe place. But it says, the majority of council members said they would not overlook Morgan's actions, referring to the 2021 recording that showed Wallen drunkenly using a racial slur. He later pledged to donate $500,000 to organizations including the Black Music Action Coalition and the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville. Donations that they verified were made in September 2021. Another council member said, Brenda Gadd said that Morgan Wallen is someone who continues to get second chances. Morgan Wallen is a fellow East Tennessean. He gives all of us a bad name. Councilmember Jordan Huffman said his comments are hateful, his actions are harmful. District 33 council member Antoinette Lee, presumably referring to the Metro Council, said entities speaking up and saying no might help folks who are doing these harmful actions think twice. Now, what's really interesting here is this is not the first time that council has hotly debated over whether or not to approve a sign. This one in the past, they ultimately opted to approve it, but they took issue with putting even Kid Rock's sign up as well. And Kid Rock has also been a boom for Broadway. So let's see what they had to say back then. It says in January 2019, Nashville's council debated approving a 20-foot neon sign featuring guitar at the base shaped like a woman's buttocks for Kid Rock's big-ass honky-tonk bar, rock and roll steakhouse. And look, it's a tourism district, and I understand maybe you should debate that and question whether or not it is appropriate for the public, but anyone who's been to Broadway in Nashville, anyone who's been to Vegas, this kind of stuff is, that kind of signage is there. But, they go, this is one I feel crosses the line between good taste, family friendliness, and I think what we would like Nashville to portray to people who visit us. The legislation was sponsored by a then member, former Nashville Mayor John Cooper, then at-large council member, voted against the measure, as did Lee, who was serving in her first term. Now, this is what's interesting. Some council members who took issue with the sign relented after then Metro Council attorney Mike Jamison advised that rejecting the sign due to vulgarity or obscenity could lead to a First Amendment lawsuit. Metro Council members did not discuss the applicability of the First Amendment or potential legal challenges before voting on Tuesday. That's the question that's going to be at stake here. I haven't seen anything citing the sign not being appropriate. Certainly in relation to what we just discussed about Kid Rock, there's not a picture of anyone's butt on it. It's a tasteful sign. And so they're just rejecting it on the grounds that they've taken issue with personal conduct in the past from Morgan that he has apologized for. And so whether or not that is the role of the council and whether or not that is something they can evenly apply to other business owners, or whether or not because he's a high-profile celebrity that this is more about making an example out of him, remains to be seen. But if you're in Nashville, I would love, if you're a local resident and a voter there, I'd love to hear your opinions on this in the comments down below, because this is one that could go either way. But ultimately, Morgan Wallen has built a 6-story, multi-million-dollar business that's going to generate significant tax revenue. And so if you get into a situation with Broadway where you may be reducing the confidence in some of these investors that want to come down here and open country bars, they sure as hell can go somewhere else and they can invest in another community, which would be very sad to see in Nashville. So I wonder what you all think. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to CountryCast for the latest news and updates.